Hi, I'm Patricia Greenberg, and welcome to It's Okay to Be Old, a show about all things aging well. Well, today we have two very special guests, Ellie, who's Eleanor Hamby, and Sandy, who's Dr. Sandy Hazellip, and they are best friends and co-authors of Here We Go, Lessons for Living Fearlessly from Two Traveling Nanas. Welcome, ladies, to It's Okay to Be Old.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to be here. We're enjoying being with you, Patricia.
You know, you two are known as the traveling nanas, Sandy and Ellie, who continue to provide that joy, friendship, and wanderlust only gets better with age. So I found you on Instagram around the world at 80, and you were in
Mhm.
the hot air balloon.
Yes.
Yes.
So I did a little research and I saw that the two of you are traveling the world and talking about it and sharing about how A, how beautiful it is to travel the world, and B, you could do it at any age. And that to me is would you ladies mind sharing your ages with us?
Well, I am now 84
We're
years old.
we're both 84, and we
Wow.
traveled around the world in 80 days when we were 81, and
And
when we were 81
yes.
around the world in 80 days. And Sandy, tell them how that all came about.
All right. Well, we had taken some other international trips when we were younger in our 70s, but in anticipation of getting old and turning 80, one evening when I was at Ellie's home, I said, Ellie, wouldn't it be fun to go around the world in 80 days at age 80? Well, Ellie perked up and said, oh, yes. So we had every hotel reservation made, every airline reservation made, and COVID shut it down that
Oh,
year.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
COVID did shut us down. So
Yeah.
we made the trip the following year, and our new theme was Around the World in 80 Days at
At 81
and
and still on the run.
Yeah, there you go. That's amazing. So did you enlist the help of a travel agent or you
no,
just said go for
no.
broke and we're going to go where we want?
We like doing our own things. We both have traveled a lot, and we've always just done our own bookings and things. We do our all of our hotels, and we use an online app to help with that. And so we book. We look for your location, and that's the main thing, is you've got to be in the right place. You can't have a great place, but you're so far from everything you can't do anything. And we're not on a tour, so nobody's picking you up, tour group and doing this. And then next we go for rating, because that's extremely important when looking about staying at a place, particularly when you're budget travelers. And then after we've picked the location, the rating, we generally, on the app that we use, 10 is the highest, so we generally try not to go below an 8.
Okay.
And now that we have that, then we sort it by cost.
Cost. Right.
And we don't necessarily take the cheapest one by any means, but it has opened the world to all these cool, really unusual places out there, these little family run hotels, particularly international. It's hard to find that kind of thing in the US, but internationally, we've just had a great time. And Sandy, what
Yes.
was the best one we got?
Oh, the best price that we got was in Cairo, Egypt. It was only $13 a piece per night.
Wow.
But let me tell you, when our taxi driver dropped us off, he dropped us off in an alley. And I said, we get to our hotel walking down the alley? And he said, oh, yeah, just walk down the alley. You'll see a gate. Just rattle the gate and they'll let you in.
And we rattled the gate, and this young man came out, and he was one of four brothers. Their parents had owned the home, and they had passed away. And they decided, since it was right close to the pyramids, they had 6 floors, and they turned it all into rooms, a nice little inn, and the rooftop. Oh, unbelievable. We
Wow.
go up to the rooftop, and there, arrayed before us, or the pyramids. We could watch the light show at night for free. And so
Wow.
budget travel. So those kind of things, you're never going to get that unless you really just step out. And then what happens to when you're staying in those kind of places, they're very helpful. They just really will go out of their way to make sure if you want to do this, or tell you what you might want to do or something. And so we've had some great friends that we've met because of staying in their little place.
Absolutely. And a minute ago, you talked about how did we make our plans for
Yes.
did we have a travel agent? No. So one evening when we were planning our around the world trip, one evening when I was at Ellie's, she sat on one side of the counter with her computer. I sat on the other side with my computer. And I said, okay, Ellie, we knew we wanted to go to all 7 continents. I said, name the 7 continents and I'll type them up. So she named them and I typed. Then I said, now tell me all the major cities that Phileas Fogg went to. She looked that up and I typed. Then I said, now tell me all the different 7 wonders of the world. So she read those off as I typed. Then, when that was all finished, we got the globe and we started making our plans.
It was fun. And when you look at Phileas Fogg's, he circumnavigated the world pretty much a circle around. We zigzagged. We zigzagged around the world, not just a nice little circle and stay at that. So we had a great fun, but it was really fun to base it on that. And of course, we had to do the hot air balloon. There was no question. Phileas Fogg, was that was a big part of his journey, and so over the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. It was great.
I hope children are still reading Jules Verne.
Yes.
Still
Yes, I do
reading
too.
and still reading Around the World in 80 Days in a hot air balloon and
Yes.
understanding, right? And which circles back to I gave you ladies a Q&A, but there's still so much to ask. I wanted to, which I didn't bring up, there's power in numbers and there's safety in numbers. So traveling together is really wonderful, right? That you have each other, and God
Yes.
forbid you needed something, you're not alone. Like that's like really an important part of this. So has this around the world travel made you more brave and made you less afraid of, maybe you weren't in the first place, but some people are afraid to go to certain regions of the
Yes.
world. And how did you feel about that?
Well, we had other international adventures that were quite dangerous. We
Yes.
were in Syria when the war broke
Oh,
out.
wow.
We were not intentionally in Syria when the war broke out. In fact, we were watching it carefully because that was during the Arab Spring and things were happening in Egypt, and I had a friend back here in the United States, and he was uh and we were saying, because I was coming from Zambia and Sandy was in Romania. We were meeting up in Romania to go to Syria, to take the train down. And he said, oh no, Syria is very safe. Bashar al-Assad rules that with an iron fist. There'll be no revolt. And of course, we're in the Bedouin, in the Syrian desert, sleeping in a Bedouin tent the night everything kind of exploded right after we had left Damascus, a few hours after Damascus. And so it was quite the adventure.
I can
And then
imagine.
our very first trip together, that besides the mission trip, our very first international adventure was riding the Trans-Siberian train. And
Wow.
and there was supposedly
Yeah.
a criminal on the train with us that got arrested.
Right.
So,
Yeah, we did the second class too when we did that. And actually in Syria, we literally were taking public buses.
yeah.
And we had a backpack and a carry-on thing, and that was what we had. And so we traveled pretty basic, and we really people were older, and I think they're and we're smile a lot. We've learned that smile will get open doors, open hearts, you name it. Just be happy and smile, and you'll put everyone at ease. So that has been kind of just it. We really don't really worry. I mean, there's some countries we wouldn't go to, and we would never have gone to Syria had we known what was happening. But
I love what you're saying is that it's not on the cheap, but you're paying attention to what you're spending. Because
Yes.
all of us has experienced, we look at the luxury hotel and say, I'd love to stay there. It's safe. It's got all the amenities, but you miss out on the culture of
yes.
the locals if you funny, in a funny way. And
Absolutely.
those Airbnbs and those home, I'm starting
Oh,
to do that in the United States. I travel a lot for my work,
yes.
and I'm starting to look at Airbnbs and home
Mhm.
rentals, things like that. I find that people really look out for you.
They
Oh,
do.
yes.
It is
Yes.
amazing. You're 100%. I think you're just not another guest at a big hotel. You are their special guest,
Yes.
so to speak. And they really do take care of you.
Yes.
We don't mind. We're not shy. Hey, could you help us? I mean, we don't ask them to do things that's going to cost them anything, but do you have any suggestions or, we need to get from here to there? How would you suggest? And we've also found that that's a real good way to budget travel too, because they're generally the prices when you book something locally much cheaper than when you book it from the United States for an excursion in Lapland or somewhere. It's much better.
So tell me, is it tiring? Is it exhilarating? Is it never gets old?
Okay. People get tired when they go on vacations.
Yes.
We don't go on vacations. We go on adventures.
Adventures.
Okay.
And every adventure just revs you up for the next adventure.
And how, I want to know how both you managing all the time zones. Was that? I have
Go
that from
ahead.
New York to California. Think, oh,
No.
a 3 hour
Okay.
difference. Yeah.
So my advice is when you travel through international time zones, you make sure your watch gets set to each time zone that you are in and
Mhm.
stop thinking about what time it is back home.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. If it's 10 o'clock at night where you are, it's time to go to sleep.
Right. Okay.
If it's
live
six,
in the time zone you're in.
that's right.
That's excellent advice. So you've been, I'm going to just lift this from your bios, from the icy shores of Antarctica to the breathtaking night sky above the Syrian desert to the majesty of the Grand Canyon. Now that's just a little piece.
Yeah.
When you are going on an excursion, an adventure, and then you kind of have to map out one area might be hot, one might be cold. So the
Yes.
packing is challenging. Antarctica, how did you go there?
Okay, first, let me also tell you up front, in planning the trip, we knew we had our total itinerary in front of us, and I looked up what is the average temperature zone in this country on this date.
Okay.
So we did that with every place we went, and so we kind of knew what clothing we needed to take. And so basically, we took just a few outfits so that we could just switch things out that we needed to.
And we layer a lot when it's cold rather than taking this huge bulky coat. And we do take smaller, I mean, coats that are very warm, the down coats and things, but they will wrap up into something much, we go into something much smaller. So that was the main thing. Shoes, we did have a little problem on the around the world because we needed boots. And so we did have to take a pair of boots, but often if we were worried about weight on luggage or something, we wore the
We
boots
wore
on the
them.
plane.
Okay. Okay.
So,
And carried a coat, we
yeah,
could just
Yeah.
use it to sleep on. So
yeah. So,
Well, this is
but we did manage.
yeah, that's great because now we live in a sneaker culture, right? You can go out
Yes,
in your running shoes to most places and
right,
wear them to fly, wear them to walk, wear them to
everything.
sightsee, whatever it
right.
might be. Um, both of you would it's just invigorating even listening to you. You want to tell us some horror stories or the downside of traveling happen along the way? Maybe not horror
Well,
stories, but yeah.
yeah. Yes. Well, we've had those. They far our good stories and our fun stories far outweigh, but really in Syria, and in the Trans-Siberian first. So the Trans-Siberian is when we realized that we really could travel together, that we're so similar in so many ways and yet so different. We have totally different personalities. Sandy is very sweet and smiling and cautious much more than I am. I'm just the opposite, a daredevil, and I might just, walk off the side of a cliff without even knowing I'm getting close to the edge. But that's never happened, but it could have been. So anyway, we are these different personalities, but we were stuck there on that Trans-Siberian train, and there was this crime that had been committed, and Pajama Man in a vacant compartment, which is us and the Pajama Man, who we didn't even know was there until they started asking for passports. And then they came and the KGB coming through, tearing up his compartment, the ceiling tiles in the hallway, everything. Then they take him out arrested.
Then they come to our compartment.
And they I think they think we are in cahoots with Pajama Man, who we did not know. And they search ours and all of this. Our ceiling tiles, our mattresses, our luggage, takes everything out. Didn't find anything. But then they said that basically
you are the only witnesses to the crime.
We never really knew what crime it was, but they wanted all of our information, and it was fairly traumatic. And we were there about 8 hours because of this crime that was committed, and they had our passports, and we had no idea. I did send a silly little email to our family, our kids, saying, well, there's been this crime on the Trans-Siberian. We're witnesses to it. If you just don't hear from us in 2 or 3 days, just figure we're in a Siberian prison. And so
Sandy, then tell them what
then
happened.
We didn't have internet for about 2 or 3 days. So Sandy's family
that's really scary.
Yeah. But it was that trip that we realized we could go through a very traumatic encounter with the KGB, no less. And
we didn't have nervous breakdowns. We were wringing our hands and crying.
Like I wasn't trying to each one of us. No, it was like we were just kind of the same, facing it. We just know it's going to work out.
Yeah, we got to get you on Netflix and do a show about it.
Yeah.
So, I want to actually, to quote both Ellie and Sandy, make some plans and live. I love that. I want to showcase you each individually for a second, as an inspiration to how we weave together the work-life balance, still doing all the things you want to do at any age. And the big pillars of aging are nutrition, movement, spirituality, getting enough sleep, but community and friends, as you know all too well, are one of the number one ways that we can age well and flourish at any age in our lives, at any point of our life. And you two have mastered that beautifully. So, Ellie, you are an international documentary photographer. You live in Texas and you've traveled to 127 countries and all 7 continents. But there's a special place that you go every year, the Zambia Medical Mission. Tell us about that.
Yes, that place is like my home, my second home. And I lived there for 6 years. And then we started doing a medical mission in the 90s. And I am one of the directors. My husband and I directed it, and he passed away in 2005, about 5 years after Sandy's husband had passed, because we both really became friends because of the loss of both of our husbands. But really, I'm 84 and I just got back from Zambia directing a medical mission in the bush where we saw close to 8,000 patients in over 5 to 6 days of clinics. And we're sleeping out in the bush with no electricity, in tents, pit latrine, and no running water. And yet, it's just so rewarding. And I know one time after my husband had died, and I was standing there one night and looking out at all the people that had come. You get 2,000 or 3,000 people can come a day to your clinics. And I'm seeing all these little lights of fire out there and they're just sleeping on the ground. And I'm thinking, why me? Why do I have this? And I have a warm coat. I have a tent I'm sleeping in with a warm sleeping bag and body warmers from Walmart. It can't get any better than that. And yet there's all these people. And somehow my husband's voice kind of came to me, and because I was kind of in despair. You can't take care of all those needs, but basically said, just touch each person that you can and give them a day of dignity. And I think Sandy and I both, our humanitarian service has extended our lives dramatically because We feel good about ourselves. We're happier, right?
Yes.
And when you're helping someone else, that just rejuvenates you.
Right.
And you don't have to solve all their problems. You really are just walking side by side. But the humanitarian service, being a photographer and all, but mainly the work in Zambia, has just really, really been. It's the backbone of our friendship.
Absolutely.
Without that, we would feel guilty. I think just going on
Oh,
fun trips
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
and all this, but no, we are out there, and that's what gives our lives really the most meaning. But it's helped us give us energy too.
absolutely. Sandy, you are Dr. Sandra Hazellip, and you are a geriatrician, and work
yes.
specifically with residents in long-term care facilities. And now you serve as a physician for hospice. You're a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother, and you have taken your children also on these medical mission trips to both Zambia and Cambodia. I'm speechless because again, it's having purpose is all you need later in life, right? It's almost like
Mhm.
it opens your world. I always say there's a big wide world out there,
Yes.
and so many people need just your presence, just being there and showing someone you care is life changing. So, tell us about that. And I have kind of a second question. How do we encourage younger people to go into gerontology and understand to help people with their lifespan? So it's kind of a twofold question.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the field of gerontology is the study of older people. Okay. And the geriatrics is the specific medical specialty of caring for the elderly. And when I had medical students who would rotate through my clinic and through my practice, I had over and over, they would tell me they were so amazed that because they thought um, following a geriatrician around would be boring.
Huh.
And they said, oh my goodness, this combined cardiology, nephrology, neurology, rheumatology, all combined,
And psychology as
and
well.
Yes.
psychology,
Mhm, mhm,
and the wisdom that they gained from
mhm.
listening to my patients. I mean, the students, the medical students were just in awe of what a geriatric practice entails, and they loved it.
So you have an approach to end of life that must really contain a lot of wisdom and a lot of patience. And one of the things, it's not something we had thought about discussing because I wish you ladies many, many more years of happy travels together.
Mhm.
But when we reach that point, it is something to think about. I always say people should plan for the end of their lives, get everything in order, and then go live your life because there's nothing to worry about anymore,
That's
right?
right.
Right. So, and your children and grandchildren come along with you?
My grandchildren, I have taken a grandchild
Amazing.
on a mission trip, not always a medical mission, sometimes a spiritual mission trip,
Okay.
every summer I did that for 20 years until they were all grown.
And I do the same. We both, I think that's one thing. We both take our grandchildren, and then mine have practically grown up in Zambia, but
Right.
we used to take them whenever we traveled to Zambia, we would take one at a time, and that is crucial. That is huge advice because don't take two grandchildren because they're going to be together, they're going to bicker, they're kids, and you just have one child, and you all are just a team, and your interest is that one child. And so that's just worked out really well. And our grandchildren now are friends because
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
they've
Yeah.
traveled together and things. So
fantastic.
that keeps you young when you're traveling with your grandchildren.
And may I share with you that there are some benefits to getting older?
Yeah, well, that was my next question. I'm so glad you're bringing it up. Yes,
Okay, so may I share the
of
benefits
course.
all
Yeah.
right. Well, one benefit is that I have more family members to love.
Mm, mhm.
Another benefit is I have more memories to enjoy.
Mhm.
Another benefit is I have more stories to tell. And then I pray that the fourth benefit is that I have gleaned from extra years of being involved with things and of adventures. I pray that I have learned more wisdom than I had when I was a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to, before we leave, you have to tell me about the book. So you have a book, Here We Go, The Traveling Nest,
Yes.
and you were featured in a New York Times article about your travels and were approached by a publishing house. That's unheard of. And I hate
Yes.
putting it this way, especially at an older age that you're being asked out to write a book.
Right.
Like, um, I do a lot of writing and work with people who do books, and they say, "You're still writing books at 64, like ancient." I'm like, "Yeah, I actually am." And so tell us about that process a little bit. That you got the book contract. It was a gift from God, as we know.
Yes.
That just goes without saying. But how did you go about putting it together and getting it out? That's a big undertaking.
Yes, it was. And actually, what happened first, right after we came back from the trip, we were contacted by a literary agent in New York City. And she said, I've just been reading about you all, and this needs to be a book, and I would love to be your agent. Well, here we were, 81 years old, and somebody, when we need an agent, we hadn't even thought about that. And we checked her out, and she really was a best-selling literary agent. And so we signed with her. And then she told us, number one, 99% of all nonfiction books are written with a ghostwriter.
Mhm.
And so she said, well, then you need to do your proposal. This is before Ping and Random House had come in. And so we started working on a proposal with a ghostwriter. And then that's when, and while we were still working on the proposals when we were in the New York Times, and then Penguin Random House contacted us. And really, what their words said, the world needs this voice, and they need it now. And it was like, oh my. And we didn't realize we had a voice. We just thought we were having fun. Okay. I
Mhm.
mean, we knew we were attracting media attention all over the world.
But we had no idea that
Did that
there would be a
really people were really we were just people were listening to our voice of happiness of having a friend. And again, Sandy and I, our later lives, when we developed our friendship, we were both basically, our friendship came after we both lost our husbands.
Yeah.
And so for so many older people, when you lose a spouse, you just feel like your life is over. But there's all those windows out there God has for you, and just go through them. And so then we had then the Penguin Random House then contacted us and said they'd like to do the book, and the book was just getting ready to go out in about a week or two to the big five publishing companies. Because people were believing in us and really saying this is good. And then Pig and Random House since came back and wanted a little sneak preview of our proposal, and then they came out and made us a very nice offer. And it was just, and we love the editor.
Right.
She just understands the vision of the book. And we thought that they know what they're wanting out of this book. And so that's what we're doing. And it's been a long process. And we've spent hours, days, weeks, months, whatever, almost 2 years doing the book.
What?
And
Yeah, that's I wish you all the best with it. And it's coming out right now as we release
uh
the show. So I'm hoping we get a lot of attention. So Sandy, I think you answered it to some degree, but some of the problem when we talk about my work, it's okay to be old, which a friend of mine said, it's not just okay, it's fabulous.
that's right.
I like that he said that. But the big push has always been anti-aging, pretend you're not old, do whatever you can to not let any people know how old you really are. But you're breaking that barrier. You're pioneers in so many ways of letting people know it's okay to do whatever you can, what
Yes.
you're capable of at any age. So I love that. And I know Sandy shared. Ellie, could you share a little bit with us about what you like about getting older?
Oh, it's just fun.
Yeah.
I mean, really, we don't have the commitments. I mean, we're both still working full time, but Sandy's getting ready to retire in a couple weeks, but I'm still working for Zambia and things. So, I mean, but I have a very loose schedule that I can do what I'm doing. But really, it's just a third chapter in our lives that is probably one of the most exciting chapters we've been through. I mean, every chapter in your life has something new, but I guarantee you, this one is fun. And we are just having a blast with meeting people, seeing things, and just stepping out and enjoying the world. So that's been that's really been what a lot of getting older has meant to me. I'm happy about it, and the whole world knows our age, so we don't.
Yeah.
There's no covering up like pretending to be younger. We're
Yeah.
84,
Yeah.
and that's it. So
Amazing. It's so wonderful. Again, we are talking with Dr. Sandra Hazelip and Eleanor Hamby, the authors of uh, Best Friends and co-authors of Here We Go, Lessons for Living Fearlessly from Two Traveling Nanas, uh, published by Penguin Random House, available everywhere. And again, ladies, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, sharing your story. And do you have a website that we can go to?
oh, absolutely. Just
Huh?
around the world at 80. That is all of our social
Okay.
media, our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and you can go to that, and you'll find out all about us and things. And just for your information, we just finished recording the audio book for
Oh,
our book,
okay.
and just
Okay.
last week, and that was quite.
Yeah.
But they really, Penguin Random House said we really want the book in your voices,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we did that, and that was a challenge,
Yes,
but we
it was.
did it.
We did.
We
Yeah, so
made
we
it.
encourage
So
all of you to go out and get this book. There's a lot of wisdom in it besides the interesting travel, and follow these wonderful ladies on social media. And I want to thank all of you for listening to It's Okay to Be Old. Please subscribe to my channel for our engaging discussions on all things aging well. For feedback and topic requests, you can contact me at www.patriciagreenberg.com. Thank you again, ladies. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you so much.
thank you, Patricia.